2009 has brought the earliest start to a campaign for governor we have seen in many years, and that's because Democrats last won the governorship way back when Ronald Reagan was president. So the field of Democrats this year is fairly big. There is one announced candidate so far. He is former Speaker of the House Jim Amon of Milford. 5 candidates, though, are in the exploratory phase. They are the front runner in the polls, Secretary of the State Susan Bysiewicz. The front-runner in the bank accounts, 2006 Senate nominee Ned Lamont, former Stamford Mayor Dan Malloy, State Senator Gary LeBeau, and the first Selectman of Ridgefield, Rudy Marconi. On the Republican side, there are 2 announced candidates so far. Former Ambassador to Ireland Tom Foley, a former Senate candidate this year, and Lieutenant Governor Michael Fedeli. There are others, of course, on both sides of the aisles who have expressed interest or haven't ruled out running. And with us today, one of the Democrats who is in that exploratory phase, Rudy Marconi, the first Selectman of Ridgefield. Mr. Marconi, nice to see you on Face the State, your first appearance here in our program.
Yes, it is, and thank you very much.
So you must get it, periodically, because, Ridgefield's a small town. What does the first Selectman of Ridgefield want to be governor for?
Well, Ridgefield used to be a small town, first of all, Dennis. It is now approximately 25,000 people.
Okay.
We've grown substantially over the years. And good question, why would the first Selectman of Ridgefield want to be governor? And as you know, we formed the exploratory committee, but witnessing what took place this past year in the budgetary process was inexcusable for the residents of Connecticut, I believe. I know in my position, and many of my colleagues, both mayors and first selectmen, we had a job to do, and that was to finish the year, our fiscal year, with a sound budget in place, a balanced budget. That meant mid-year adjustments. We had to go to work. We had to make those changes. We did all of that. I did all of that in Ridgefield, while the state continued to spend with no adjustments being made, ending the year with about just under a $1 billion deficit. That was very disturbing to a lot of us.
Who do you blame at the state capitol for the budget situation?
I don't know if you can blame an individual. I don't think any one person can be the blame. I think the process is terribly flawed. I think the individuals involved on both sides of the aisle, both the Republicans and Democrats, especially the governor, for not leading the team, is probably the focal point of where I would put the blame. I believe that as a quarterback is the leader of the team, is often blamed for the loss. The governor is the quarterback of the team in Hartford and is losing the game. The governor has the blame.
And you expressed interest in running for governor even before the governor had decided she was not going to seek re-election.
Yes, I did.
What was your strategy toward, well, first of all, getting the Democratic nomination?
Sure.
You have a big field of candidates to beat out. How are you going to do it?
Yes, there are. Well, you need to look at the candidates. If you look at who the people are in the race, we have 3 individuals that have served in Hartford over the last several years. If you're a voter in Connecticut and you're looking at Hartford and you're displeased with Hartford, my rationale would be I would rather see someone outside of Hartford get to Hartford and maybe bring a breath of fresh air, a whole new perspective to Hartford. So if you have 3 people, that eliminates 3 people right off the top. One individual has never been elected to public office. Although there's a large bank account involved, I don't think Hartford's for sale. At least I hope it isn't at this point. And that leaves one other candidate that I would be running against in an exploratory phase, and that would be the mayor of a large city in Fairfield County who has done a great job. However, he has already been in the race. He ran 4 years ago. People chose another candidate over him. So if people didn't see him being the mayor, or excuse me, the governor, 4 years ago, what has changed that would change their mind? I don't think anything. That's why I feel I am distinct and represent a breath of fresh air for the people of Connecticut.
So you're saying Bysiewicz, LeBeau, and Amon are the Capitol insiders, part of the problem? What would you be doing differently if you were the governor right now? How would you resolve this crisis?
Well, one of the first things I would do, we need to cut. I mean, there's no doubt about it. And, a fiscal crisis is not identified by partisanship. We need to go to work. And people have understood, in my capacity in Ridgefield, being a Democrat in a Republican town, elected 5 times in landslide victories, what they realize, either side of the aisle, is that I have the ability to create collaboration, to bring people together, to solve the issues. That's what's lacking in Hartford. We have no one person, no leadership. We need a captain of the ship, and that's what I would hope to be able to have a chance to do.
Governor Rowe would argue that she has introduced some very painful cuts. What would you have cut?
What would I have cut? Well, the first thing we need to take a look at is not just cutting, but also establishing revenues. Our state has been way behind over the last 5, 10 years, decade of not being able to implement new programs, new sources of revenues. We've studied and studied and studied, but never have been able to put a plan of action together that can implement these plans. For example, the TSB, Transportation Strategy Board, came up with a wonderful plan, did a $1 million study, Dennis, to come up with tolls. The governor looked at that and said, you know what? No, I'm not in favor of tolls. Let's put that on the shelf.
Do you support tolls?
Yes, I do.
And you're from a border town?
I'm from a border town.
Which tend to be against the tolls.
Tend to be against tolls, but you have to look at why are we against them. You have to analyze the problem and then create the solution that fits that issue. And I think with automatic tolls, the electronic tolls that exist today, we eliminate a lot of the issues that the surrounding communities are concerned about, and especially if you place these tolls at the entry points of the state. And they're high-speed tolls. They're in New Jersey now. They're being experimented with Pennsylvania. I'm not saying tomorrow, but in the next couple of years, the technology will have advanced to the point where we can have automatic tolling without disrupting the flow of traffic that would generate possibly $1 billion of new revenue. That's one of the areas. Now, your question had to do with expenses. And where would you cut? I think a lot of our programs are in place that have not, they've not been put through the acid test. We need to look at efficiencies. There are many, many programs. For example, and I'll give you one. I know in the fuel assistance program this past year, not the current year we're in, but the previous year, millions of dollars were spent to many of the cities, and rightfully so. People were in need to help adjust for the huge increase in the cost of oil. At the end of the winter, there was still additional money allocated that allowed credits to be established for these people. Well, why were we spending money to establish credit for the following season when in fact we need the money in other places? We need to begin looking at all these programs and create efficiencies so that we're only spending the money necessary, an ROI, a return on our investment.
As many mayors will tell you, the cities in our state are suffering. Let's use Hartford as an example. The suburbs around them getting all the business, all the investment.
Yes.
How would you improve life in the cities of Connecticut? How would you make them thriving centers?
First thing, Hartford, put more boots on the street. Chief needs more help. Violence is at an all-time high. That needs to be corrected. We need to implement prevention programs. We need to get the kids in school. We need to get them educated. We need to put money into education. That is critical. That is the foundation of not only our cities and towns, that's the foundation of our state. If we create one of the best educational systems in the country, we can then begin to provide a workforce that corporations are going to go and say, here's a state that we want to work in. They have tremendously qualified people. They're willing to put their investment into education to provide the people for us to hire. With that, you also need to develop some good transportation systems, public transportation. We have been woefully behind compared to our neighbors around us with the transportation system.
More train service?
More, much more train service. We fought a little example with the Danbury branch line in our neck of the woods 10 years now, and finally, only because of stimulus funding, are we getting $30 million to install a new centralized traffic control system that will increase safety, increase some efficiency, and the level of service. We need to begin doing that. We need to look at the New Haven to Springfield line. $26 million was needed out of the Bond Council, out of the Bond Commission. Why wasn't it ever passed? Billions of dollars are in jeopardy in federal aid as a result. What is wrong with us? Why can't we seem to take that step forward into a good action status?
In our final moments here, you sound like a candidate, but it's not official yet. So what needs to be done before you officially become a candidate? What are you looking to do?
Well, we need to raise $250,000, and that's difficult in an economy such as what we're in right now. In a recession, people are having a tough time. There's no doubt about it. So to raise $250,000 in denominations of $100 or less is a tall order, and it's a difficult one. We need to raise that money, plus we need to secure 15% of the delegates at the convention in May. That would allow us to get into the primary. We're hoping to be able to do it. I'm traveling the state. I'm out every single night of the week, weekends, asking for people to support me. Get to know me, first of all. You know, a lot of people are saying, like you opened the show with, who is Rudy Marconi and why would Rudy Marconi from Ridgefield, Connecticut want to run for governor? Because I know I can get the job done. I know I understand the people of Connecticut. I work each and every day looking into the eyes of every single taxpayer and listening to their issues, and I feel it. I feel the heat too. I want to go to work for the people of Connecticut.
Rudy Marconi, the first selectman from Ridgefield, possible candidate for governor. We'll see you back here on here again. Happy New Year.
I'll be back.